Welcome back everybody, my name's Thomasio. In this video we're going to go over the workbench and the hideout. On each level of the workbench we're going to go over 3 crafts that are pretty profitable, some more so than others for sure. It's a good starting point for anybody new or a veteran of the game in order to get some rubles built up, get your stash built up so that you can go into raids and it gets rid of a little bit of gear fear. Some people don't even use their workbench. They don't use their scav case, their Bitcoin farm. A lot of people think that the hideout is a waste of resources and it's not a good investment. And honestly, you couldn't be more wrong. So the purpose in doing this video is to highlight how the workbench can be an incredible resource as far as gaining rubles and, you know, building up your stash to a point where you're comfortable bringing in gear and you don't really care if you lose it. I'm going to start off, this is my hideout. It's all pretty much max level except for the air filtering unit. I don't really see a point in having it. What we're specifically going to cover today is the workbench right here. So the first thing we're going to go over is Workbench Level 1. The most basic craft that has a little bit of profit but not that much is the Magnum Buckshot. So the Magnum Buckshot is really good for shotguns. It's probably one of the best rounds right now. A lot of people use it with the Saiga auto shotgun. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's very popular. If you could just leg meta somebody to death and it takes like 2, maybe 3 hits. So it's a popular round right now, so it's not a terrible craft. So the crafting mats aren't that bad. It's 1 blue gunpowder and 1 matches, both of which are really common. You can find blue gunpowders all the time. Matches are incredibly common. If you go into duffel bags or filing cabinets, you find matches all over the place. The production cost, if you're just buying the materials and you're not finding them, it's only 22,000 rubles. And keep in mind for the duration of this video, all of the prices as far as what materials cost and what they sell for, they're as of making this video. So if you're watching this video a week from now, 2 days from now, the price could be different. Either check on the flea market or you can look at some of the websites that show the current auction house or flea market prices. They're a pretty good resource and they give you an average price of what things are bought and sold. So the production costs 22,000. If you sell each round for 275 to 300 rubles, at 120 rounds, you're making about 33 to 36,000 rubles. So it's a profit of 11 to 14,000, which isn't terrible for a starting player. If you don't have a lot of time to play, you don't have a lot of materials built up, you don't really have the capital to be able to buy things on the flea market, or maybe you're not level 10, you don't have access to the flea market yet. It's not a terrible craft. I throw in the crafting time to show on average how many rubles you'll be making per hour if you continuously did this craft. But I think a lot of people don't really take into account how long the craft is. They just really care about how much they're gonna make from it, which is fair. The second craft that I wanna go over is wires. Wires are pretty easy to make also. Power cords are really common. It only takes 2 power cords. You can find them again in duffel bags, filing cabinets, in computers. So if you go to say Interchange and you hit all the offices, you can come out with 4 or 5 power cords, or you can come out with none. They're a really easy item to find. For 2 power cords, you get 8 wires. Wires fluctuate, I've seen between like 8 and 11,000 rubles per item. If you sell all 8 for 8,800 rubles, you're coming out with 70,400 rubles, which is about a profit of 39,000, which is really good. Early on, this is a craft that I really rely on because you know, again, you're getting so many wires. Wires are always in demand. You need them for quests, you need them for the hideout. There's other crafts that you can use the wires for. So they're a pretty good resource to rely on for not just building up capital, but also keeping for your hideout or quest later on. So the last craft that you can do in your level 1 workbench that I want to go over is for fog grenades. I actually didn't realize that this was a level 1 workbench craft until recently, and it's actually really profitable. However, the starting cost is really high unless you're finding the items in raid. 5 fuses and 5 of the 40mm fog grenades in total cost about 190k. Fuses, at the time of doing this video, they're going for about 18,000 rubles, and the 40mm grenades are going for about 20,000 per. If you're buying the materials, it's about 190,000. And then the profit, if you're selling all 8 at 28,000, the price fluctuates between about 26, 29. It depends on the day, what time of day it is. So if you're buying them, you're selling all 8 for around 224,000. What makes this craft particularly good is that the crafting time is only 1 hour and 6 minutes. So in the time that you could do 1 craft of the power cords, you could do just about 2 of these, so you'd be making double the profit. Moving on to the workbench level 2, the first craft that I want to go over is the green gunpowder, the eagle gunpowder. This is another item that you can craft that is used for a lot of other crafts. So it's a really good item to have your stash or your scab junk box, wherever you keep your barter items. I make a lot of these not only to sell on the flea market, but to make other items to then also sell. So the production cost isn't that bad. So you have two options here. These Zippo lighters, they're also pretty common, very cheap to buy if you have access to the flea market. The M67s are a little more expensive, but if you have access to Peacekeeper, you can buy the M67s for $88 a piece. So that makes the crafting cost much lower. So the production cost for the green gunpowder is about 32 to 24,000, depending on whether or not you bought the mats from traders or if you bought it on the flea market. And if you sell one, it fluctuates between about 60 to 63,000. So it's a profit about 30 to 37,000. The second craft, and this is one that I started doing recently, is for SP6 ammo. Most people don't have stockpiles of SPP and BP. So SP6 is still very much in demand. Crafting costs for the SP6, again, you're using the green gunpowder for this. So if you crafted a green gunpowder, the crafting cost for this particular item is going to be a lot less. You used items that you sourced or bought, and you made that green gunpowder, you're gonna save yourself about 30K. So if you sell all 200 rounds for about 720 rubles, the sale itself is 144,000. And then, so you're getting around a profit between 66 to 96,000 rubles, which is, that's really good. The last craft that we're gonna go over for the Workbench Level 2 is AP 6.3. AP 6.3 is the best 9mm ammo that can be crafted in the Hideout. The production cost is around 57 to 58,000 rubles, because I didn't factor in crafting the red gunpowder because I don't think it's very profitable. I think you actually lose money if you craft the red gunpowder right now with the prices of certain items. So if you sell the 100 rounds of AP 6.3 that you craft for around 940 rubles, you're getting 940,000 rubles, which is a profit of between 35 to 34K, depending on what you bought. So for the final level of the Workbench Level 3, it pretty much gives you specifically ammo crafts. So the first one I want to go over is BP. So it's 7.62 BP ammo, which is the best round for BP. A very easy craft, very simple craft. It only takes one green gunpowder, the Eagle gunpowder. So if you do the craft from before, you buy the smoke grenade and the two M67s, you're getting a green gunpowder for about 30K. It's like 24 to 30K if you craft it with materials that you bought from the traders. That's the only item you need. It's one item. You only need the green gunpowder. So you get 120 rounds. If you sell all 120 for around 880 rubles, which is what I've seen it stay pretty steady around, you're getting 105K. So the profit, if you bought the materials off the flea market, you're making about 43K. If you crafted the green gunpowder, you're getting almost twice that in profit. BP is another craft that I do pretty often, especially if I'm running through AKMs, AKMNs. I don't sell a lot of BP, but I blow through a lot of rounds because, I don't survive as much as I would like to. So I tend to lose a lot of drum mags. So you're welcome to whoever kills me when I'm running an AK. I hope you put that BP to good use. The second craft that I want to go over is the M61. The M61 ammo is the best ammo for 7.62 by 54, which is like the M1A, the SA58, the RSAS. So M61 is an incredibly expensive bullet. The crafting cost is 3 red gunpowders and 1 radiator helix. Radiator helix is really easy to find. If you go to the back of Ollie, you can find them all over the shelves, all over the fallen shelves in the back corner. So helixes are really easy to find. Red gunpowders, not so much. If you sell all the rounds of M61, you're making about 240,000 rubles. That is an incredible amount. It's almost 100K above the crafting cost. So you're making a profit of about 70,000. Crafting time, however, is a lot longer, but it's one of the best ammos in the game. I think it's worth it, especially if you're using those caliber weapons that use this bullet. I think this is way cheaper than actually buying the. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind too with a lot of these crafts. If you can craft the bullet, it's probably a lot cheaper for you to craft it rather than buying it off the flea market. So the final craft that I'm going to go over for the Workbench Level 3 and for this video is the RIP ammo, which is another 9mm ammo. This has an incredibly high flesh damage. So if you're running rip ammo and you just leg meta somebody, they're going to drop like in an instant. The crafting cost is 1 red gunpowder and 4 wires. So if you craft the wires from earlier with the power cords, you're going to save yourself a lot of money, and then you just have to buy a red gunpowder or happen to find one in a duffel bag or something like that. So the crafting cost isn't that high. It's about between 67 to 87,000. And then if you sell each round between, I've been selling it between 800 to 825 rubles per round. So I've been getting between 140 to 148,000 rubles. So that's about a profit of between 61 to 80,000, and it only has a crafting time of 2 hours. So in comparison to some of the other crafts, for the amount of rounds you're getting for how expensive they are, you're getting a pretty decent profit based on the time spent and what you're getting. So in summary, the 3 crafts that I would recommend doing, so if I had to say which one I would do for each workbench level, for workbench level 1, I would definitely do either the power cords or the VOGs. Your power cords into wires is probably your better bet because the starting cost is really low and you're still getting a really good profit, and wires fly off the flea market. Workbench level 2, you have some really good options here. What I would recommend doing is the Eagle gunpowder, just because you can build up a stock of that and then use it for other crafts like the SP6, or you can use it for the BP rounds for workbench level 3. And for the summary for the last one, which is the workbench level 3, honestly, all 3 of them are really good. You could make a ton of rubles doing any 3 of them. Right now, I've been really focusing on the rip ammo, but what I used to do, or what I've done more frequently, is the BP ammo with the Eagle gunpowder, just because I can craft it in the hideout for so cheap. So it's a really good rate of return, pretty decent profit. So hopefully this guide was beneficial to you. I hope that you learned a couple things that you didn't know before. Honestly, I was just sitting here one day thinking about which crafts were better than others, so I just started doing a little bit of math and really mapping things out. And so I figured if it was beneficial to me, it might be beneficial to a couple of you guys. If you guys like this and you found it useful in any way, maybe I'll start making other guides in the hideout, or giving people my point of view on what's a good and bad investment in the hideout. Let me know in the comments what you find to be your favorite craft, or another craft that you think should have been included. And I hope to create more guides like this, so stay tuned and I'll catch you in the next episode.